Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Okay, guys. Well, I'm super excited about our next guest. This girl has helped me more than she even probably knows, probably more than I even know. But when I was a hot mess as a business owner and my schedule was going crazy, this girl came in and totally helped when it came to productivity, when it came to time blocking, when it came to mind mapping. And so Sara Jane Weidner, she's the owner and creator of Time Managed, which is an incredible resource. So Sara, thank you so much for being here and being on the show and sharing your expertise and your story.
Thanks for having me, Charity.
Yeah, I remember just the first time we met, and it actually wasn't with regards to time management, but I was a personal training studio owner and she was working at a really cool performance studio or performance, not academy, what word would you call it?
We just call it the Performance Training Center.
Yeah, there you go, Performance Training Center. And they'd come over to do a tour and just to kind of look at what it looked like, what it was to be at a private studio compared to corporate, and just to chat and to connect within the fitness industry. And I just remember her, and she had great questions to ask, and she was always so curious and so kind. And then all of a sudden she reached out, she was like, so what would it look like if I were to come train at your studio? And I was like, I like this girl. She was like asking questions, and she eventually came over to train at the studio, which was great. But in the middle of that, and I'll let her share her story, but this is where time managed kind of came out of some things that she was noticing that was missing. And so, Sarah Jane, I'll let you kind of pick it up and share your story and where time managed has come from.
Awesome. Yeah. As you mentioned, I feel like a gazillion businesses, always trying to figure out what my niche is going to be, how I can help people. I've done personal training, my degrees in nutrition. So how in the world did I get into having a planner is what a lot of people will ask me. And it really came from Mike Akana, actually, who was the owner of the performance training center that I was working at. He actually designed a planner for us, and that's where the basic bones came out of, for the time managed planner. A lot of people don't know that. Mike likes to remind me a lot. That's where it came
He
from.
would. He
But
would.
he exactly, he built in an Excel spreadsheet. Actually, is how he had designed it. And I had done, over the years of owning businesses, I've done a lot of personal development, and I had all these things that I wanted to put into a planner. And when I look back at my business, I actually see that, 10 years ago, I had created tracking sheets that I had actually just put in a 3-ring binder that are now components of the time managed planner. So the planners were a long time in the making. And really, I built the planner originally for myself. So I took, Mike's general layout, and I added the daily focus and kind of designed the layout how I wanted to use it. And then I had a friend, a chiropractor, actually ask me, "Hey, Sarah, can you build one of those for me?" So I developed a planner for a chiropractor, and then I had a couple other personal trainers ask me for planners. And so I made just these one-off planners. I was literally getting them printed at Office Max. And it was costing me, like $30 per planner just to have them printed. So I wasn't making any money. I was just doing it for friends. Then I had a friend who did Mary Kay ask me if we could put her weekly accomplishment sheets in there. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And it kind of developed out of that when I noticed that the network marketing industry was kind of missing. I mean, all the companies have their own planner, but they aren't specific to their business. It doesn't help them focus on their business. And that's really what I wanted to do with the planners, to help give people focus, because I see the value in a home-based business or in a network marketing business. Instead of being stuck in traffic for 8 hours, somebody can run their business from social media, but they still need focus, especially when you're working from home. So we built the planner, and now we have them for a whole host of different network marketing companies. And um, it's just, the idea really is to help give you focus. And it all came from me building a planner to help give me focus.
I love it. Well, I know that you've done such a great job with that niche of planners for direct sales or for network marketing, which I think is a great business model. I have my own home based business, and it's what was one of the things that got my head above water when it came to being crazy and busy and actually starting to leverage my time. So I'm so grateful for that experience. But let's talk a little bit about time blocking and prioritizing some of that kind of stuff. What are some tips that you have when it comes to really choosing those priorities? Because I know at the top of your planner, you have those 6 goals, you have those top priorities, which is super, super helpful for allowing us to say no to the things that aren't on our priority list, which some of us have a hard time. I know I've been there before, and that's still something that I'm working on. I tend to love to just say yes and think that I can fit it into my schedule. But learning to say no is good, but those priorities are really, really great for allowing us to know, okay, this is my goal. This is what I'm working on. What doesn't fit within that, I can say no to. So what are some tips that you have for that?
So back to talking about the time blocking, you have to know where you're spending your time in order to improve how you spend your time.
Right.
So what I encourage people to do is to actually log for a week, or even just 3 days, every minute that you spend your time. So every 15 minutes, write down what you're doing, keep track of how you're spending your time, and that's the only way you're going to improve. I also highlight out my week. So I highlight my ideal week, and then I can kind of see how I'm fitting into that ideal week. I use color coding to see where I'm spending my time. So let's say, I've got my 8 to 5 job, I'll do that one color. And then I'll have, the side business, that's another color. When I'm really focused, I can do color for marketing, a color for operations, when I'm actually shipping things. And by color blocking, I can look at my week and go, oh, there's way too much yellow there. I spent way too much time doing operations, which means I didn't get to do a lot of marketing. Or I spent way too much time at my on my side business and not enough time at my regular job, or whatever it is that you need to improve on. When you color code, you can kind of see better where you're spending your time.
Yeah, and I love that, like logging your time. It's similar to, and obviously you and I being in the health and fitness industry, to logging your food. It's like we don't necessarily realize how much food or nutrients or calories or carbs, fats, and proteins we're taking in unless we really log our food. And so that's such a great tip. And I should probably go back to that because I'm trying to fine tune some different things to get even more productive. And I've definitely have started outsourcing things, which is exciting because I don't want to do everything. But yeah, I love that. That's such a great tip. Log your time. So what are some tips that you would have when it comes to prioritizing your time? Because that's obviously like time, and we've had this conversation before, but time is one of the things that we can never get back. You can always make more money. You can always, if you lose a house, you can always get another house. You can always buy more clothes, like whatever that might be, but you can never get back time. And so, how do you prioritize your time, or what are some tips that you have for that?
So you really have to know, I guess, what's important. And this comes down to a huge personal development thing. We could all fill our days being busy and doing everything, getting everything done. And then going at the end of the day, people will sit down and go, I didn't accomplish anything. And
Right.
it's because they didn't prioritize, they didn't look at what they really wanted to accomplish. So when I
That's
say to
it.
log your week and to look back at it, and if you don't know what you want to improve, you won't be able to improve it. So, for me, a huge focus is I always want to make sure, I'm getting my workouts in. If I look back at my schedule and I'm like, oh, you worked out a day last week, that's good. Um, that's not good. That's something that I need to change and schedule for. And it all depends on what you want to focus on. I don't want to focus on getting my house clean. I want someone else to do that for me.
Amen, sister.
Um, exactly. Some of the things you have to know what you want. I want to spend more time volunteering with my Kiwanis Club, or I want to spend more time at Toastmasters, and looking at where you're spending your time so that you can, again, improve it. Um, Choosing your priorities, it all depends on what you want to accomplish. So at the front of my planners, all of them have an area for goals and gratitude. So you make a big bucket list, and then I like to focus on, my top 3 goals at the moment. And I want to work towards those top 3 goals every day. I want to take steps towards those goals. And it's really putting it in front of yourself every day so that you can take those steps and know your priorities in your daily decision making.
I love that. Well, and what's so important is going back to what you were saying about being busy but not accomplishing anything. I like to call that being busy but not effective. We can be busy, whether it's, doing all this random stuff. We can look busy, we can feel busy, our schedule can look busy, but it's not being effective, or it's not being busy or effective at the right things that are according to our goals or according to the bigger dreams that are in our life. And I love that because it's such a valid point. Like, be don't be busy, be effective. And then the gratitude. So that was always one of my favorite things that were in your planner was, or that is in your planner, was the gratitudes, because that is such a great reminder of always being in that state of gratitude. And it was hard. I remember the first time doing it. It's a list of 100 gratitudes. And it's like, at first it's like, oh, I'm thankful for my family or for my husband or for my house, or it's pretty general things. But then all of a sudden you get like towards the 60 or the 70 or the 80 gratitudes, and you're like, I'm thankful for my eyeballs. And it's like, actually, I am very thankful for my eyeballs, and that I can see, and that I can see colors, and that I can see the world, and I can hear. Or it just starts to get into what seems like these little things that sound funny to be grateful for, but they really are huge when it comes to being grateful. And it won't be until we're really grateful for what we have that we will get more. So that was always one of my favorite things. So,
Yes, I love the gratitude section. I always tease that I can just name each one of my animals, and then I get up to 36. So I win in that sense.
yeah, which speaking of, I need some eggs from you.
There we go.
So another thing that I loved about your planner was the space for mind mapping. That is like one of my favorite things because for me, I'm very big on ideation. I am very entrepreneurial. I love creating projects and content and doing things like that. And mind mapping was one of those things that I remember taking one of your classes. And I'd never heard of it before, or I'd heard of it, but had never done it before. And I had always just tried to organize things linearly. And so, why don't you share about mind mapping and what it can do, and maybe give a visual picture? And then, if people aren't very wordy, you can always share like a resource because I know you have a great video on mind mapping as well. So, maybe share where that's at so that the visual people need something to see.
Yes. So mind mapping is getting out of the linear process. How often does an idea or a concept or a project that you're working out come out of your head in order? Never, right?
Never.
It's not something that we can make so linear. We try to make lists, but then something else is more of a priority, or we think of something that has to do with something else, and then we end up writing in the margin to try to fit everything on a lined piece of paper. I was actually taught mind mapping in its current state by one of my good mentors, Jeff Forrest. He actually claims that he can fit what he would fit on 18 pages of legal pad onto a single blank sheet of paper.
Wow.
Yeah, so he is like the guru when it comes to it. And I actually have a video that I did with him discussing mind mapping. But the big focus is just like brainstorming when you were a kid. The idea is to put your central idea in the center. So in the center of your paper, it may be that you're in a meeting and you'll put the title of that meeting, or it's a project you're working on. A lot of times I do it for a brain dump, so that'll be the center of my page. It'll just say brain dump, and the date. If I'm in a meeting, I'll put, Kiwanis presidential meeting or whatever it is for a meeting. I'll put that in the center. And then the legs that go out from that, or the parts that go out from that, are the concepts or the major points that address that or that have to do with that. If it's in a meeting, I actually write the people's names. And it's kind of convenient. So I'll write them, let's say we're sitting at an executive table, I'll actually write their names in a circle around in the same places that they're sitting. And then kind of as they talk, I'll write notes by their name. But it makes it so you can fit a lot more information down and you can organize your thoughts a lot better. If I'm doing a brain dump, I will write down all my projects that I have around, and then I'll write the pieces that I can do off of those projects. And again, if I were to try to do that on a lined piece of paper, I would end up, with scratched through chaos going on. But when I can do it in a circular fashion or kind of all over the page, I can just fit a lot more information on the page.
Yeah, so then for those of you guys that are visual, what mind mapping looks like Sara Jane was saying, it's that central idea in the middle of your blank piece of paper. And then you kind of draw these lines off of it. So it almost looks like a sunshine, like a sunburst. And depending on however many points you're talking about. And so then that might be where, you're putting their names on it, or the ideas, or the different facets of it. So I did this when I was building a website, or when I was building a business, or when I build a project. And then from there, then you're able to, draw out more little sunbursts, if you will, and you draw, and then you add on those next tasks that go along with it. So say you have your website, you want to have a tab that has the social media or the contact me page. And so then on the contact page, it's going to have, like the name, the number, the get a hold of me here, here's my social media. And then on the social, then you can like draw out another line for the social media, and you put Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube and all the different things. So from there, when you look at a full mind map page, it looks like a big cluster. But then after you've done this, after you've created this mind map of all these little sunbursts or something, what's something else that it reminds you of?
Like a spider's web or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, so then where do you start from there?
See, what you want to pull from your mind map are your tasks that you can take from it, so the things that are actionable items. And then the other thing are topics to expand. So maybe one of those little legs actually becomes its own mind map. Maybe it's something that you really need to break down further. So that's where I'd say you take away tasks and your topics to expand upon.
That's awesome. And then you basically, yeah, you take those tasks or you start, and sometimes this helps give me a visual, but usually those tasks are probably those items that are on the outside of that sheet of paper. So, we'll go back to that social media example, but if someone has their social media stuff, okay, well, I have my Facebook page. I need to maybe get my Twitter set up a little bit better or change my LinkedIn page and really adjust that. So now it's those actionable tasks according to those things that are on the outside of the page, and you start to work your way in, and then all of a sudden it just creates that big thing that's in the middle of the page, which is awesome. So I love, love, love organizing. When it comes to mind
Yeah,
mapping.
the other part, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The other part of it is I love to use a lot of colors. So I will use a lot of colors to designate different things. So maybe if it is a task or something I can action, I'll use a different color when I'm doing it, or I'll go back and highlight. It's especially helpful when you're taking notes from a meeting in that sense. You can go back and highlight those key points or those things that you need to do before your next meeting. So I like to add the color so that you can really see when you glance at the page.
I love it. That's so great. Well, Sara Jane, I would know that you are busy being the time managed guru, and I want to make sure that people know where to get you or get a hold of you or even grab a planner from you. So before we go into where to find your resources, what are some plans that you might have to continue to grow time managed, and where can people find your awesome planners?
My plans to continue to go time managed are just to be more of a resource for people. So we've been working on our blog a lot, and I also do trainings about once a quarter for local teams, and then I travel some to do trainings for teams for people that are in network marketing. And we also, our biggest success last year was actually going to conferences. So we went to the Living Conference and had a booth there and being resources for these bigger teams and helping people build their teams has really been amazing for my business.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, where can people find your amazing planners?
At timemanaged.com. And also you can find the resources on mind mapping, all of that on my blog at timemanaged.com.
I love it. Yeah, she does a great job with YouTube videos and sharing, she breaks down just the planners and the colors and all sorts of different stuff. So make sure you check it out. That's timemanaged.com. So Sara Jane, thank you so much for sharing your time, for being on the show, for sharing your expertise, because this is definitely one of the hot topics, and especially for our generation, because we're so techie, we're so distracted, we can have everything that we need at the tip of our fingers, but there's still something to be said about having that paper and that planner and really getting our thoughts and our schedule and our goals and our mind organized. So thank you for really stepping into that space as an entrepreneur, for seeing the need that was out there, and for being brave and for creating something even though it wasn't even in your degree. I love that. So yeah, thank you for your time and thank you for being on the show.
All right, thank you, Charity.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. So much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.